Hi, 1 Hour Smart Home here, and today we're going to show you how to install the Wyze Switch or the Wyze Smart Switch. So the Wyze Smart Switch is a Wi-Fi smart switch that is going to allow you to control it from your phone using Wi-Fi. It also works with Alexa and Google Home voice commands, so a neat little smart switch here. Now it's important to note that the Wyze Switch does require a neutral wire for installation. So we've got a video that shows you what a neutral wire is and how to identify one. So go ahead and take a look at that in the description below if you don't know what a neutral wire is. Now, the first step to installing your Wyze switch is you want to make sure the power is off. So we already went down to our circuit breaker and we turned off the power at the circuit breaker. Now that we've got the power off, all we need to do is remove the two screws holding the cover plate onto the switch. Once we've got these screws removed, we can go ahead and remove the cover plate to the light switch. Once again, it's a good idea to check the power one last time. Make sure you've got it off before you start working on the electrical. Now that we've confirmed the power's off again, what we're going to do is remove these two screws that are holding it to the junction box. With the two screws loosened, holding the light switch onto the junction box, we can go ahead and pull that forward, and then we're going to be able to inspect and view the wiring. So we've got our existing wiring here, and this wire down at the bottom, that is our incoming power. That's also known as the hot wire. This wire going up to our light fixture, that is our load wire, and that's going to go up through the wall to our light fixture in the ceiling. Now we've got these two wires left, and both of these are very important. We've got our ground wire here that you want to make sure you connect for safety. That's going to be this unshielded wire right here. Now the last wire we've got in here is this white wire. That's that neutral wire we were talking about earlier, and a neutral wire is required for the Wyze Smart Switch or the Wyze Switch. So we've got one. This existing switch wiring is compatible with the Wyze switch, which means we're going to be able to get it installed. Now, all we need to do is pull this out for a little bit more access, and then we're going to remove the existing wiring from the existing switch. Now, before you remove this wiring, I recommend you take a picture of all the wiring inside your box, so if something goes wrong, you're going to be able to wire it up just how it was. It's also a good idea to label these with a piece of electrical tape or some of the labels that they include in the box with the Wyze packaging. Now, we're just going to remove the hot wire down here, and we're going to remove the load wire from the existing switch, and then we're going to remove the wire nut from the neutral wire right here so that we can wire into it with the provided wire from Wyze. These are the labels that were provided from Wyze, so let's put those on before we undo these wires from the existing switch. We're putting our load label on that top wire that's going up to the light fixture, and we're putting our line wire on the wire that I labeled as hot. So line and hot are interchangeable terms. It just means that that's where the power is coming in to the circuit. So we've got our line label on there, and we've got our load label on there. And then the last one we need to put on is our neutral wire. And I'm just going to put it on this right here so we know what it is. Now, the ground wire, I'm not going to label because that's the unshielded copper wire that has no insulation on it. So pretty easy to identify regardless if it's labeled or not. Let's go ahead and take these off. Now we're going to remove the wires from the existing terminals. We got our line wire off. And now we've got our load wire off. Last one to remove from the existing switch is the ground wire. In the Wyze switch box, there's a little bag that includes some extra parts. Thankfully, in that box, Wyze includes this extra white connector wire. And what we can do that is use that to connect to our existing neutral wire. And the reason that we're going to use the extra piece of wire to connect the neutral wire to the switch is that the switch is back-wired and it doesn't have any wires on it. So you just take this piece of wire, you're going to put it in that hole and then tighten it down, and then you're going to put the other end with the neutral wire. With our existing wires, we can just straighten these out, and they're going to go right in the holes to back-wire the back side of this switch. You can also see that it's labeled line or hot right here on the left side. We've got neutral on the right side, and then we've got our load wire up top there. And that's why you need to have those labels or understand which wire is which in your existing circuitry and wiring, so that you're going to be able to attach this with the correct configuration. So I'm going to remove this wire nut from the neutral, and we're going to tie in the wire that Wyze gave us and then put that neutral wire nut back on. We have our neutral extension wire, and we're just going to wire it together with the existing wires there and then recap it with the wire nut. We'll straighten out the existing two wires and then trim them to length if needed. Now that we've got our wires straightened out, we're ready to insert them into the back of the Wyze switch into the appropriate terminals. Now, before you insert the wires, you're going to want to loosen up the existing terminals on the switch so that you can insert those easily. So I'm just going to take my load wire first, and I'm going to insert it into the hole on the back of the Wyze switch, and then we're going to secure it with the provided terminal. So we've got that load wire in there. We're going to push down, and then all I'm going to do is secure the existing nut or existing screw on this switch till it's nice and tight and that's not coming out. And this label keeps popping off, so I'm just going to try and stick it back in there a little bit. Now the next one we've got is our line wire or hot wire right here. And that's going to go in the other side of the switch right here on this terminal where it says line. So we're going to put this line wire in the line terminal, and then we're going to take the white wire and we're going to put that neutral wire in the neutral terminal. So let's try and get this inserted and see if we can get it on camera. And I'm just going to loosen up that terminal once again so that we can get that wire in there easily. And then once it's in there, we're going to tighten that terminal back down. We've got the line wire all the way in there, and then we just tighten that terminal down on the wire. Now we've got our neutral wire to insert, and I'm just going to take these braided wires and twist them up so that they're going to go nicely into that neutral terminal. So we twist those up nice and tight, kind of to form a stronger wire. Let's make sure that we've got the terminal loosened up, and then we're just going to insert it into the provided neutral terminal, which is this one right here. Hopefully you can see it on camera there. It's that neutral terminal down there at the bottom. All loosened up, and now we can insert that neutral wire into the switch. Now we tighten down the neutral terminal. We've got one last wire we need to attach to the switch, and that's our ground wire to the ground terminal up here at the top. So I'm just going to get this ground terminal and ground wire in a configuration that we can get it right around that terminal pretty easily. So we've got that ground wire there and our ground terminal, and we're just going to loop that around and then secure it. Now the Wyze switch is wired up, and what we need to do is take the cover plate off here, and now you can see we've got two mounting holes for the switch, and this is just a cover plate that snaps on. Now you can install this in gang boxes with multiple switches. You can just use a standard Decora cover plate instead of the one that's provided. It's going to fit in those standard multiple gang cover plates. So let's put our wires gently back into the junction box. We're going to push everything in there, and sometimes you got to play some wire origami to fold everything. We want to make sure that we've got the switch installed right side up, which we do. And now we're just going to secure the Wyze switch to the existing junction box. We've got the Wyze switch secured with the screws, and we can snap our cover plate in place. And after that, we're ready to turn the power on and test this out. So I'm going to go down to the circuit breaker, turn the power on, and then it's good to get your Wyze app out on your phone. So if you don't already have the Wyze app, download it onto your phone, set up a username and password, and then you're going to log in. So we're going to open up the Wyze app, and we're going to turn the power on to the Wyze switch down at the circuit breaker. So we went down to the circuit breaker and restored power. You can see the Wyze switch is blinking with that light, which means it's ready to set up. So I've got the Wyze app open here. It's available on both Android and iOS. So if you haven't already downloaded it, do that and set up a username and password. We click in the upper left-hand corner on the plus symbol, and then we're going to click Add a Device. Now we've got different options here, and we're going to click on Power and Lighting. We are installing the Wyze switch. It's about midway down here, so we're going to click on that. It says high voltage wiring, and we're just going to click through all these things here because we've already installed the switch. Here it says add some smarts to your switch, and this is just the installation guide. Since we've already installed it, we can click skip installation guide. It says searching for your Wyze switch. Now it's important to make sure you have your phone connected to Wi-Fi and you've got it connected to Bluetooth so that it can find your switch. Here your Wi-Fi network is going to pop up, so we're going to make the selection for our Wi-Fi network so we can connect the switch. Then we're going to enter our password for that Wi-Fi network. Once we've got the password entered, we click connect. It says connecting. Connected to the Wyze cloud. Added devices. Finishing setup. Now we can name our switch, so I'm just going to name this one hallway. Then I'm going to click finish. We can share access with family and friends. I'm going to click maybe later. All right, now the switch is currently off, but if I want to turn it on, I can click right there and you can see that the lights are turning on and off in the background, as well as that the light will come on here indicating that it is on. So we can turn it on and off right here from the phone. And then you've got all kinds of controls here. And when I clicked on that, it asked me if I wanted to update the firmware. I'm going to go ahead and click update now. Usually updates only take a minute or two, and there's a sequence of blinking lights that are going to go through the light. Just don't turn it off while it's updating. It took about 2 minutes for that update to complete, and it says, congrats, your upgrade went great. What's new? I'm going to click done here, and then we can go back to the switch. And you can see here we've got some controls down at the bottom. We can turn on or off vacation mode. We can create a timer, and we're just going to turn it on and off a couple more times here. There's also some settings up here that you can adjust for the switch. You've got schedules you can put on here, status light if you don't want that on because it might be distracting at night, you can turn that off. You've got rules that you can create. You can share this with other people and then look at the device info or delete it if you needed to. So let's click on the additional controls. You can add custom actions for the Wyze switch by double or triple pressing when you hold it. So all kinds of different stuff you can play around with there with the Wyze switch once you've got it set up and you want to get into the details. So thank you for watching this video on how to install your Wyze switch or how to install your Wyze Smart Switch. So this is just the standard Wyze Wi-Fi switch that will turn on and off, and you can control it from your phone or use it with Alexa or Google Home. This is not a dimming switch, but it also does require a neutral wire. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you want to support us, go ahead, click the thumbs up, subscribe, or click any of the links below. Thank you.